Hi everyone, it's Adam with Worldwide Stereo, and today I want to talk to you about some powered speakers from a company, Kanto. These are the TUKs. Powered speakers are kind of a nice up-and-coming category because they're so versatile. You know, on the back of these speakers you can connect your TV to it, you can connect your computer to it, they have Bluetooth, it's got a turntable input, so there's a lot of things that you can do with these speakers. So I want to dig into these, but I want to thank everybody right now for subscribing to our YouTube channel, like our videos, ask me questions. It's really a lot of fun to talk to you guys. So let's keep them coming and let's get into these speakers a little further. A powered speaker, that means that it has an amplifier in it. These speakers have an amplifier in it that can deliver up to 260 watts of power, or 130 on average, which is sometimes called RMS. When you look at the front of this speaker, you'll see the 5 1/4 inch ceramic woofer. And I like, if you look a little closer, you'll see how they kind of put the front of the speaker behind the surround, so all you see is this driver up front, so it has a really cool look to it. And then up top here, that is not your average tweeter. Up top there, that's what's called an AMT tweeter. It's kind of like a ribbon tweeter. It's not your traditional dome tweeter, so it's really accurate, and it can produce high frequencies really well. The samples that I have here that I got from Kanto, thank you, are in white, and they are available in black. You'll notice that they come with a remote control. And on the remote, you know, you have your standard power. You can switch between the inputs, which I'll dig into further. Your volume, mute, control the bass and treble. You also have a sub output too. That's really cool and kind of unique for these kind of speakers. So a nice differentiator there. Bluetooth control, and sometimes you can, when you connect these to some computers, you can do things like track forward, track back, and play and pause right here. One speaker, this one, has your power, and this is where your amplifier lives. And then this speaker is just a passive speaker, and all it has is the terminals for the hookup over here. You connect this output to this input over here. Now, there is an awesome feature with these speakers. You may not always have power in the right spot, okay? So they don't really designate which one is left or right. You get to decide that with using the remote control by pressing and holding the track back button. That makes that speaker the left speaker. If you press and hold the track forward button, that makes this speaker the right speaker. So again, press and hold on the track back, that'll make the active speaker here the left. Track forward, this makes the active speaker the right. You'll see you have your USB B connection, so that's for connecting a computer, which computers have the USB A output, so then you can make a USB B connection. You'll see your sub output right here, so you can connect. Kanto does make powered subwoofers, but it could be anybody's subwoofer. It happens to work really well with theirs, but any subwoofer will do. And then you have your standard analog input. So this could be a connection for a CD player, your phone into it, or an iPad into it, or a tablet, something like that into this, so you can connect there. Here is your phono input. Now remember, a phono input is very special. On the other side of this input, there is a built-in phono preamp meant specifically for a turntable. Don't plug anything else into this. It'll be really nasty. It's a bad sound if you do that, so don't do that. One of the really nice things about powered speakers is that most of them use what's called DSP, digital sound processing. That's nice because what the companies can do is when they put their speakers and their amplifier into a box like this, they can really custom tailor the sound of the amplifier and the sound of the speakers to maximize this piece right here. So it's very common to see that in powered speakers, but it's really nice to hear a setup like that because these again are custom made. The amplifier and the speakers are all designed to work in harmony together. When you're working with passive speakers and an amplifier, that becomes a little trickier, but that's sometimes the fun of that. But having it built in makes it a lot easier and you get a really great product. Another nice feature for the TUK speakers is that you can either have bass and treble control globally, or by the press of a couple buttons on the remote, you can individualize that. So when you switch between Bluetooth, your computer, your turntable, the TV input, you have bass and treble settings for each one of those inputs. So that's really something that's special for the TUK speakers. I mentioned hooking up a computer, which that was part of my test. I hooked up my USB connection to it and played a lot of things from Tidal and it sounded fantastic. You can do a TV hookup. Here's a tip though, you have to be careful when you hook a TV up to this. With an optical cable, you have to make sure that your output is set to PCM, which is kind of a fancy word for just digital stereo. You're not gonna find a surround sound decoder built into these, so if you try and feed it a 5.1 Dolby Digital or Atmos surround sound track, you're just gonna hear a lot of clucking and popping and just not music. So make sure that your TV is set to PCM when playing through these. One key note about this power switch on the back, you really want to leave it in the on position at all times. These speakers have an automatic on and an automatic off feature. That is defeatable, but if you turn this switch off in the back to turn them off, if that's off for 5 minutes, I think it said in the manual, about 5 minutes, that'll factory reset these speakers. So that may not be a good thing. And you spend all this time setting up all those inputs, bass and treble, this, that, and then you go and you turn them off, you come back the next day and yeah, all your settings are gone. So just leave it in the on position. This on the remote control will put the speakers into a standby mode and then turn them back on if you know you don't want to wait for them to turn off, but if you wait 15 minutes, they will turn off by themselves. My personal experience with these speakers was fantastic. I hooked up a computer, I used a turntable, did a little Bluetoothing, all were fantastic. Key note here, when you hook up a subwoofer with the remote control, you can engage what's called a low pass crossover. So you basically allow this speaker to play down to 80 Hertz, which is really low bass. And then all that bass leaves this out of the subwoofer output and goes to the woofer for support. If you don't have a woofer, which I did and didn't, I hooked up both, you can not engage that crossover so you get full range sound out of these speakers, which sounds great. I love these kind of tweeters because they're very wide open. They set up a great sound stage. They do recommend that you set up the speaker at least 8 inches away from the wall. That'll give you good bass response without it being overpowering and set up a nice sound stage for you so you get depth of sound. You can tell that the guitar is over here and the drummer's over here and the singer's kind of forward a little bit and then things are behind it. That's a sound stage. So that does a really good job of that because of these tweeters, and as long as you push them away from the wall. Now if you want more bass response, push them closer to the wall and you'll get a lot more bass out of the speakers, but then it tends to squash that sound stage that I was talking about. So it's a give and take, whatever you prefer. But overall, these are great sounding speakers, plenty of volume, lots of accuracy. I had a lot of fun with them. These are the Kanto TUK powered speakers. They'll be available online at worldwidestereo.com. We offer free shipping, a 60-day return policy, and we're authorized dealers for everything that we sell here. If you have any questions, you can leave those in the comment section below, or call or email me at any time. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is Adam with Worldwide Stereo, reminding you to listen to music every day. So long.